right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our June 2022 CCBA meeting. I am Rebekah and I am your CCBA president now as a Smurf. So I'm going to turn it over to Phil Upmore, who's actually going to introduce our speakers for this evening.
Great, thanks everyone. So my name is Phil Upmore, and tonight we have special guests. We have Rebekah and Rodney. They have a business called Beehive Yourself, and I met them last year at Shikori, and they do a fabulous job of marketing and selling their honey. They were actually, it was a real pleasure to watch them. I don't want to say push their product, but push their product to the people walking by. They're a fun couple, and they really know their stuff, and know their customers and what their customers want. So I think it's kind of, we're all in this period right now, hopefully most of us, where we've harvested some honey, and I think it's kind of a nice refresher of how to get out there and engage with the customers and try to get some different ideas about how you can kind of interact a little bit better with the customers. So Rebekah, Rodney, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
We actually have no one else to speak.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Give us 30 seconds to make the magic happen. Okay.
So this is not on those automatic.
Yeah. It's okay. It can stay.
Perfect.
Oh. Anybody know what this is? Yes. Yeah. The dudes knows what this is. If you do markets outside or vendor events in the summertime, this is a must. It's a absolute must have.
It's a salt shooter. Yeah, no fly for it, but it's salt. Okay. So bag of salt. He will sell you on it all if you want it. You'll have to find or but by the end of by the end of the night, he'll have it full on. So he ended up that this camouflage was mine, even though I never used it. He uses it.
I don't use this one that was available.
But he grabbed it. And, so I'm a backup Rodney, obviously, if you can tell. I always say that he did 21 years of military. Okay. And I did 21 years of retail management. So we both second wind of life. So he back in, what was it, 14, 15, got into beekeeping. Got to meet wonderful people. Got into beekeeping, got into the Hope County Beekeepers Club. We are in Cumberland County, but we go to Hope County's club meetings. And so I did education and outreach as we were trying to work on the business I wanted to work on, which was catering. And one of our festivals that we were doing education outreach on, which is called Pepper Fest, which you all know it. We're here in Pittsburgh. We actually did an infusion with Carolina Reaper. And if you get to know Rodney, you will know that this is coming right out of his mouth. He wanted to burn people's mouths up, and he wanted it to be okay, now we gotta come up with the Airbnb name, now we've gotta come up with a Facebook. And just, obviously it organically became what, as you will start seeing what we are today. Yes, honey?
So the one that she was talking about as far as the Pepperfest goes, if anybody who wants to try that one, I got it right here. So step right up. And if you got.
We will do that afterwards, so you can punch them in the face. I have no problem with it.
If you like hot stuff, that's it.
So this is the version we do now. It wasn't the original version we used, but we did a twist on it now. So, but you will find, and afterwards, if you guys want to talk anything about infusions or questions about different things like that, we can definitely go into that. But I think the biggest thing that everybody or Phil wanted us to talk to is just how we get people up to the table. How do we present? How do we use the fact that we're selling as an education piece and really talk about beekeeping actually, which is still the purpose of what we do. So without further ado, Rodney is now up.
So like one of the first things that we've always took the opportunity to educate. Education is the most important thing to us as far as like beekeeping, because we know that everyone in here understands that 1/3 of the things that all of us eat are pollinated by honeybees or some form of insect. So that is paramount. The other thing is educating folks about honey. Also educating the importance of doing business locally as opposed to, so like, let's say, for instance, you go to Walmart, you go spend your money at Walmart. So guess what? Your money is going to go to the Walmart brothers and sisters, Waltons out there and wherever land, right? However, if you buy honey from, let's say, Michael back there, who's got the hives over there, Corey, that money's going to go in his pocket. He's going to be able to go to the store over here, buy more hive bodies. He's going to hit Corey up so he can buy more nudes. And so it just, the money stays in the community, and that's what is important. So I'm going to stop yapping about that. So Corey, please come on up. And oh, young man right here. Yes, get him on up here as well. All right. So I want you guys to come in front of the table. So, so you guys care to get a honey tasting today, right? Yes. All right. So without further ado, this is what we're gonna, first thing we're gonna do. Now, if you notice, normally people will walk by and I would say, hey, do you want to get a honey tasting? Who's gonna pass up honey, right? Duh. Yes. So always, there are some folks, I don't know what planet they come from, but they do not like honey. And I've had a few conversions because some folks are used to the honey that's in the supermarket. We all know that the stuff in the supermarket is garbage. The truth is in the labels. Okay, so without further ado, so the first one that you guys are going to try, this is the strawberry honey, okay? Now, this one is actually out of Hope County, and these hives sit on 16.5 acres of strawberries. So let me see the back of your hands. Hold your hand like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put honey here, and then you're going to kiss yourself. We call this the James Brown. However, if you have bug juice or perfumes or lotions and stuff, turn your hands over. Turn your hand over. I put it here on your wrist, and we call this the vampire staff because you look like this. Okay. And then there's a third option, and you're it because you got the hair. You can be my Gene Simmons. Since you head back and stick your tongue. And this is, and exactly, it is somebody in the group that says, okay, if you got cameras, we'll put the cameras out. So a lot of folks want to do experience. So that's what we do, give them a little experience, a little bit of fun, whatever. But I see you didn't want to do the Gene Simmons. That's okay. So we'll go with the James. Okay? So, and the reason why we do the honey like this on the back of the hands, because it's two things. One, it's more sustainable than having little spoons. And number two, it's a little bit more sensitive to your fingertips. To see which fingertips you've been touching stuff all day. We put honey on you, we'll put it in your mouth. Gross. You know, because some people come up, see it, and they've been picking their noses because the bugs are flying, and they're gonna go put it in your mouth. No. Okay. So what you're gonna get with the strawberry is it's very fruity, very sweet, and this is possibly the sweetest honey that I've gotten in the last 2 years. There's another one I'm waiting. Hopefully I can get it this year. This actually cuts. So
What color is it?
Kudzu has a
It's a little bit, it's
it
dark.
has like a little green hint to it. Now, the interesting thing about kudzu honey is like when you go out to the meadows or that little area where it's at, because you know it. It smells like root celery. when honey is being extracted, it smells like a root cellar. But when it's in a bucket, open the bucket up, and I can look down and says, okay, this is kudzu, but it doesn't smell like root cellar anymore. And I know some of you guys here have gotten Astra honey before, and it smells like feet.
Yeah.
I open that honey, it smells like feet. Okay, you guys can have that, because no thanks. Okay, so and this next honey here, this is a gallberry honey. Gallberry is akin to a hollyberry. These hives are actually out of Bladen County, where we were at. They're bears, so we go there strapped up, and the hives sit 12 and 14 feet off the ground because I don't know if bears will. You got 3 or 4 hives there. Bears, you'll find your stuff a quarter mile, right? Done. And they're just peel the frames look like it just okay, but Lake County, and this hive, I believe these hives are in Bladen and Sampson County. Now, what you'll notice about this one is that it's not as sweet as the first one. It's almost got an medicinal kind of taste to it. It's kind of sweet tart. All right, and then the next one here, ooh, you can tell this one's very popular, right? So this next one here, this is actually a raspberry. Now raspberries, these hives are actually in Johnson County. Selma is 327 plus acres of raspberries. Wow. So what you'll notice about this one is it's sweet, fruity, and has a muskiness to it.
How many hives do you have, sir?
Right now I have 50, but then I have access to 600 or 700 or so.
Sounds very different.
Mhm.
You must have people working for
I wish.
There's not a lot of beekeepers.
Now, as you notice that every time I get an opportunity to actually educate folks, and they can actually see the difference in the taste, okay? And then the next one, so the next thing I typically go into is, what do you typically do with your honey, right? Some people say toast, tea, green, and my response is green tea or black tea. And then, because it's not necessarily about us, but it's about your consumer. And with these particular honeys, with your honey, there is a price point. There's a lot of work involved in it. And we all deserve every penny that we get, especially the way, to be honest, the way supplies and stuff is going up. At some points, we're gonna have to raise our prices when it comes to certain things, and it sucks. I'm just gonna be honest. But, and then there's gonna be some folks that complain about the cost. Like, look, lady, the best time to work bees is right now today, and it's 100 and they got the heat on hell. Okay, when you're outside, and they're sitting on, and you're working at it, and then you got to sit there, and the best honey that flows out of your extractors, honey that's hot, right? Not too hot, but hot enough to where it comes out of the comb, and you go through the whole process. And you pound in water, and then you go to market like, oh, okay, let's sell this. Can I get it for $2? No, heck no, you can't get it for $2. Okay, this is the price. Of course, there's the national honey price, but also the North Carolina honey price or whatever, and all of the things that's in between. But it is important that if you put the work in, you're supposed to get your appropriate amounts of funds out. Okay.
So Rodney, how do you, I mean, you've already kind of justified the work that goes into it, but how would you justify that to a consumer that's used to buying honey from Walmart?
They've already tasted it. But here's the thing, your consumers, they will be your guide. I mean, because you can tell a person on the face, they can like the strawberry honey, like, oh man, this is great. But they can still want to leave you and go right down to Walmart and get the current uncold stuff. Right? They're going to pay the $3 or $4 because that's what they're going to do regardless. You can give them the science, you can give them all the information, but the consumer is the one that decides. So.
But here's what I will say with that is, first off, once your consumer understands that it's minimized pasteurized already in the store, FDA standard, right? Food Line and Walmart stuff, and they're not going to get any health benefits from it. And your people actually, you will find that when they come to the markets, they are there for a reason. They want your honey. They want the medicinal properties, and they know they're gonna pay a price for it because they know and they understand. And we have all the time, and he'll go into here in a second, how we actually now transition to every single customer. Have you ever thought about being a beekeeper and pollination and all that? But at the end of the day, they are coming with knowledge already that there is gonna be, it's not gonna be $3 for this. You know, they already know that there is a price, but they're willing to pay it because they know what they're getting. And like you said, they've already tasted the difference of what, oh, that doesn't, and when we have people that will tell us that they don't like honey and they don't want it, well, we'll always ask. Okay, I have one question for you, and I'm not gonna push it. Have you ever had raw honey from a beekeeper? No. If they tell us no, try one. If you don't like it, that's it. But usually they're like, oh my goodness, this is never anything like I've tasted. And then we explain why, and they're like, oh, let me try more. And so that in itself, and that's why we do the tastings in itself, and we do it interactively. Some people will put the spoons in the jars and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, for us, we want to keep it to where people just can't like randomly get in it. But where we get to control and educate and talk about each one as we're going along and not just them randomly. Anyway, okay.
So then my next, you guys can come up, right? So then so I go into the closing portion of the engagement, okay? And one of the things I ask is, what do you typically do?
Oh, put it on peanut butter and toast.
So peanut butter and toast, okay? So then the next thing is peanut butter and toast. Okay, so this is a strawberry. So you had this was really, really sweet. So you got the strawberry, right?
Yeah.
So then I'll put it in their hands. This right here, in a person's mind, it's like, okay, she owns this now.
Yeah.
Okay, so all she has to do is pay me for it. And it's one of those non-verbal kind of things. So she already owns this right now. So yes, this will go perfect with your peanut butter sandwiches. But then also, if you do tea, you don't need as much to sweeten the tea. And also, one of the things that you want to do is in the closing portion is to get to maintain business, to continue folks to keep buying it from you. Now, this is a smaller jar. Now, what we found over the years is that these small jars, they fly off the table. But if I come up with quarts and pints,
We don't
people
sell
are a
them
little-
as fast.
they're a little bit more apprehensive. However, the portion says, hey, if you like that, get on our information according to the state is on the label.
Yeah.
So you reach out to us, our Facebook page, it's at the top of the label, it's Beehive Yourself, and there, all the information, it's on the bottom. Reach out to us and we can get you a larger size. And we'll quote you the price and we'll go, and if we're at this market or whatever, we'll get it to you. It's too easy.
And we do have a lot of people that do special order larger sizes from us.
Yeah.
Once they realize all the different things they're really gonna do with it now that they're educated and going with it. So they'll reach out or, you know, whatever.
So what do you usually do with your honey? Tea, green tea or black? Okay. So
Green tea is the very well.
there you go. That would be the one. Now, at this point, both of these in my mind are already sold. They just don't know it yet, right? But they've already tasted it, but they've also already make the decision whether they purchase it or not. Now, the other thing is, so these are wildflowers. You know, some folks might ask us, well, what's the deal with the allergy? You know, can I get allergy protection from this? Now, what's unique about our particular area is that we're in the Piedmont region and we're slap dab in the middle of the Piedmont region. So there's certain counties in Virginia and certain counties in South Carolina that are also in the Piedmont region. So you're going to get allergy relief. One of the things also about being to educate folks is also to be honest, right? If I am going to the coast, I've done some events in Onslow County, which is Camp June and all that area over there.
We also in the Charlotte area.
In Charlotte area as well. I don't do those no more because they're long drives. You got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, set up, and you look at the zombie, and it's hot. Yeah. But anyway, let me go back. If someone asks me about the allergy protection, and I'm in those particular areas, I tell them no. You will not get any allergy protection because of things that's growing here is not growing in my area. However, it's going to taste good in your tea or in your peanut butter and your peanut butter sandwiches. Now, the next thing is, all right, who wants the spice? Oh.
We can do that later.
Oh, no, that's fun now because we're going to the.
Well, you do it.
Correct. So they're gonna be enthralled with this one, and then I'll go into the next portion. Okay, so back your hands. So yes, sir.
So how do you make that honey?
Now, I'll be honest. No, don't look at it. Just hold on to that.
So the question is, can you go hotter than a hot, hold on. So Rodney always does this. He thinks everybody should like hot stuff. And then they don't want to punch him. Can you go hotter than a habanero?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can I what?
Go hotter than a habanero.
We're gonna find out.
Hold the phone. We need a chaser.
Okay, so get set, go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. You need a check. You need a check. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's hot.
Anybody else?
No.
Come to us later. We'll continue.
So, and at this point, then we go into, okay, so now you know a little something about honey, or whatever. Have you guys thought about being beekeepers?
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
so what counties do you guys live in? Chatham County, okay. Chatham County's got awesome, I mean, really awesome Beekeepers Association. So what I need you guys to do is, if you got your phones on you right now, you go to the North Carolina Beekeepers Association.org page, right? If you type in NCSBA, you'll wind up with the teachers. Okay. So you're gonna go home like NCSBA, and you're like teachers, oh, and then you're gonna, so but this time just go into the North Carolina Beekeepers Association, look for the local chapter, which is Chatham County, but then also look at where you live in the county, because you might also be closer to Orange County, right? And then Wake County or Durham County or whatever it is, and then people start thinking about it. So we do push bees and also the beekeeping aspect. And then we also run into quite a few beekeepers from different areas. And the next thing I ask is, are you affiliated with the local clubs? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't.
And the reason why I would say be affiliated with the clubs is because, and this is personal experience. Someone gave us called the club, and they couldn't get a hold of nobody but me. And this guy gets on the phone and he says, hey, I want out of this. I can't do bees anymore. I'm too old for this. I got a whole bunch of stuff. If you got a truck, you can come get it. I said, okay. So I hopped in my little SUV and pulled over there. I got an extractor. I got 5 full size setup hives with the frames, 2 bee suits, the gloves, the works, and also a hive. And the guy just said, hey, just get it out of here. I said, in a couple of days, said too easy. And I got, when I counted all of it, it was like, $3,000 or $4,000 worth of beekeeping equipment for free. The only thing he did is he went to the one of the club pages. He had all of the information that was listed on there. And then he called a couple of guys, and then my name was somewhere on there. And they called me up and says, hey man, you just starting off, you need some stuff. And I said, yes. And so the guy got the information, and he called, and I called him. It was vice versa. I got his information, I called him. And then the next time it was like swarms and different things. And then also, there's tips and tricks that we talk to people about as far as being in the club, because you always know what's going on with your hives in your specific area, because you can watch YouTube videos. I'll be honest, the stuff that's going on in Georgia, Florida, and Dewey up there in New Hampshire is not what's going on here in North Carolina. So it's always a good idea to be, a part of a club. And a lot of times, a lot of folks get it, and they sign up for the club, or they at least come and see what's going on. Well, that's okay. Okay. So if folks, which is a good question, it's not everybody has to be a beekeeper. The next thing is, okay, well, are you do you do any gardening? Are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry, you guys can sit down. Yeah, you guys can. I'm sorry about that. But well, anyway, if you do any gardening, definitely plant some local flowers to attract bees and butterflies, because the more that you have in the area, the better off we all are. A few weeks ago, I ran into a couple and they had a beehive in their house and they wanted me to remove it. And I'm like, okay, it's going to cost you money to have this removed. But the guy, he was growing kiwis and all kinds of other plants. And I says, well, look, plant more stuff, leave them alone, and then you're going to get a better harvest. Was 3 plants. I was convinced my first year, God said he planted 3 cucumber plants. 1 year got a bunch of deformed cucumbers. He got bees, he planted 3 more plants. He got 150 pounds of cucumbers.
Yeah.
So, so if anybody can plant some things and those bees pollinate, then your harvest is gonna go exponentially. One of the other things that I want to get into as well is when you do markets or events. What's that? Oh, okay.
I'm gonna step in for a second, bring a breather, so that we can kind of reiterate a couple of things, and then have some questions on this part of it, and then we're gonna go into something else, based on something that Corey has said to us. So, so first off, just to kind of reiterate, I think the biggest thing that we wanted to point out is when you're at a market, so many people, if you look at it and see, they'll be sitting down and behind their table and they expect the product to sell themselves, right? It's not that way. It's not that, I wish it was that easy. It is not that easy. So you will find that we are always standing at all my markets. I never bring a chair unless it's like, there's a couple markets that I know that it's really slow and I'm there to support. So, but otherwise, I never have a chair. You can bring a chair because if there's nobody coming by, then you can sit down, because obviously I know that we're not, not everybody's just standing up for 5 and 6 hours like we are. But would you stop? But anyway, but just to point out is obviously people are going to walk by. You have to think of this. This is your temporary store for 4 to 6 hours, right? You really want to sell it. You need to give some people will come in and they see the honey, and you can have different things on your table like these made that obviously is a key to people when they see it from far away. Oh, that looks like honeycomb, so they must have honey. But is to get them in the tent, build rapport, engage with them. Whether it's talking about their dog, because people bring dogs, whatever it is that you feel like at that moment can bring them in, if they're not coming in on their own. To then, are you honey addicts? Are you, what do you do with it? Blah, blah, blah. So I think the biggest thing that we notice as far as the engagement piece is that too many people sit down and expect people to just walk up and shop themselves without really engaging in. And I feel like people come back to us because, we have people that come just to talk to us and tell us their life stories now at markets because we know them so much and we see them so much that they just come. And I have this one lady, she just brought me like a tumbler the other day, a bee tumbler, because they just love our honey and I care for her, like her daughter, messages me all the time with them, she's moved to New York. So it's one of those things where that's the connection we have with the people, and we love that. And so it's just, if that's your thing to connect with people, use that to your advantage because people will keep coming back to you, especially if you have a market that you're routinely at every so often, or they'll even message you or phone stuff. So that's a big piece. Obviously using the tastings as an education piece, letting them understand the difference and the difference to store-bought honey. That's a big piece because that's getting them to understand the value of your honey. Some people, I had one lady come to a market and she came up to me and she goes, I used to never buy honey at a farmer's market. She says, I'd never pay the price. She goes, my husband decided to keep bees. And she goes, this year we extracted honey and I've been helping him. She goes, you don't get paid enough. Thank you. But I think once people start understanding and they start getting your honey and really seeing the difference in their allergies and seeing all that, there again, it's that value and they're going to keep coming back. And then also at the end of the day, yes, you're closing on a sale, hopefully, and hopefully that's you know, obviously paying for your bees that might swarm, or, you know, your new hive equipment that you might need, which is where we initially started with this. But at the end, also use it as a way to talk about beekeeping. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure that's what you all love. And want to educate people on, and not everybody wants to be a beekeeper, gosh darn it. So making sure that they understand what are good flowers that they can grow, help pollinate, you know, help feed the bees and stuff in the area.
We also take the opportunity to explain to them about the agricultural extensions, Master Garden Groups, and also the National Forestry Service, because they can get you all over the local side. Because a lot of folks still like those cherry blossoms and those dreadful Bradford pear trees, the ones in the everybody knows. You come on those down in the springtime, they stink. You know, you're like, oh, it's that day. You know, you just want the thing to die. You know, and then you come in and you go and put some actual native plants in your yard, and all the bugs just seem to come out of the woodwork and eat them up.
I will say that's the one thing that we went and saw. I forget what that guy's name was a few years ago. And he's the professor that wrote the book and all that on that. Anyway, his big thing was, and he's like well known for, I can't even think of his name on it. But the one thing I got out of that whole thing, the big point was, which I really you never think about, is we want our yards to be pretty, right? So we get that Japanese maple, we get that weeping cherry blossom, which is my favorite. But what he did point out was, and he showed us in many different ways, in different angles, is that any of our native insects, birds, you know, worms, all that, they only feed off of native plants. So as much as we take all these other pretty Japanese maple trees and stuff that we want to import, it's so pretty, they do nothing for our ecosystem. So the big thing is you walk out and you listen and you hear nothing, then you might need to think about, okay, what do I plant? What am I planting? Am I really planting native stuff? That was a big thing. Like, yeah, like I still remember this. The oak tree alone feeds 96 different species of worms. Oak tree alone. That guy goes. I still remember. That's because that's how much it impressed me. Like I was really thinking, I was like, and so I try to teach that to even our clients and stuff is don't just plant. Plant what's important, plant native stuff, because that's what's only going to feed our native population as far as our ecosystem.
And then there are some folks that like to plant the strawberries and the brown cherries or whatever. It's like, okay, well, put some other plants in it, attract the bees, and then they will also pollinate strawberries. They'll pollinate more than your strawberries than you actually have, and you can actually share some of those with your neighbors, and that also, it's little small stupid stuff that makes communities. You know, you'd be surprised of what a couple of jars of honey would do. You guys already know this. You know,
Maybe you guys know this, but when we talk to people about it, I mean, you'd be surprised at how many people
you got crappy neighbors.
just to ask us questions. That's just random stuff because of all the stuff that we talk about at the table. That's random stuff. So
you got a couple of crabby neighbors. We all have one or two. Hey, what's going on? Hey, Merry Christmas. This just came out today, man. You like honey? Yeah, and that's it. And you got to thank.
So before we move on to the next part, it might have, I know somebody was asking how do we use our stuff. It is, well, we're gonna say it's our trade secret. I always try to say we do not use heat in our process. Some people do, we do not. So we try to protect everything in our.
The infusions are some of them, I want to say it's a trade secret because I've spent hundreds of hours trying to figure out what works.
We've had some misses. We have some misses.
So we got a few misses.
I know.
Yes.
When you let people sample that Carolina Reaper infused one and be like, oh, that's interesting, I want to buy it, what do you tell them to do with it?
Oh.
Well, come on.
No, I don't.
So we always have suggestions. Somebody wants me to do a recipe book. I have a blogging area on our website that I need to work on with recipes, but wings, goat cheese and crackers, homemade coleslaw, barbecue sauce, Bloody Marys.
So here's the beauty of it, right? When there's two things, like taste and smell brings back memories. When you smell something, it's like, oh, I remember this kind of candy smell. This takes me back to my childhood, right? Or, oh, I remember how this thing tasted, this funnel cake tasted. This also does this to me. So when you taste any of the infusions or the honeys or whatever, once you taste the spicy one, oh, this would go great in barbecue sauce. And when I mention barbecue sauce, instantly, because you know barbecue sauce tastes. Or what if you added this to a hot chocolate, or if you added it to some ribs or some kind of meat or hamburger or cheese or something like that. Or we have another one of the infusions. Imagine this in your green tea, or imagine this over a pound cake or something like that. Once you taste them, people immediately would, you know.
And that there again, the tasting is what, when they taste, is the part of your, I mean, it's gonna help to sell it more than you will. Like it'll sell it more.
Yes.
I was just gonna mention, I was talking to a beekeeper in Wilson County who sells at the farmer's market, and she uses a bubble machine. She has a bubble machine, she said, it brings kids. Bring the kids, you got the parents.
You got the parents,
Now,
absolutely.
I'll be honest with the smoke, little kids were coming up, and I was like, ooh. And I'm like, at first, you know, I was like, whatever, you're at the Pepper Fest, you're here, so you want to get burned up. But after a while, it just, I've had an experience where I thought somebody was going into anaphylaxis, so I had to be, and then I had to do some research, because that spicy feeling that you get is actually a body's allergic reaction, and everybody's reaction is different, so I had to be careful. And I make fun of it, but I have to be careful. And then a kid that comes up and he or she is a certain age, and you got to bring your folks up. In the beginning, the little kids would come up, oh yeah, I'm gonna nail you, yeah. You know, and then he was like, huh, and you see him run off, and then the dads would come back.
But you have to have your parents.
You know, and then the moms and dads would come up, and then, you know, one day dad came up and says, yeah, my son says you gave him some of that hot stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you want some of it too? And he goes, yeah. And that was actually at Corey a few years back. And then, yeah, and the same few folks that come to Shikori, they look for us every year. And then one of the next thing I want to go into is.
I was just gonna say, with the bubble thing, if you do markets, which we're gonna talk about, you'll find what works for you to draw people in. You know, whether it's a bubble machine, I mean, she has it, why not use it, and it's fun, you know what I mean, to where, you know, there's different ways we do it, and sometimes it changes with the festival too, you know, or the market that we're at, some are a little bit different than others. But any other questions about, yeah?
Yeah, so you said that you sell more of the smaller jars, I guess, at your, so do you even have like larger jars available, or are you, because I mean, for me, if I was walking up and I saw, oh, well, you know, I don't have to think about, you know, do I want an 8 ounce, do I want a 1 pound, do I want, you know, a bigger, you know, so there's no real decision. It's like, I guess, do I want, you know, the hot one or the raspberry?
Right, now, so what, going back to, obviously, we have 13 to 15 different flavors on our tables. So let's imagine that's a lot for somebody to take in, right? And we used to, at the end of the day, we wanted to take people on a honey journey, and we wanted them to try all of it, right? But then sometimes too much is too confusing, right? So then we had to go, at the end of the day, if somebody wants to come up and try them all, we are all day long about that. But at the end of the day, we also try to say, okay, I don't want to take you to a honey coma. Let's just take you to a honey high, right? So we pick and choose based on what they tell us, what we're going to suggest, and then we give them a couple extra to push the envelope a little bit, right? That they maybe wouldn't have thought of, okay? But with that being said, what I was going to say is, because we have so many different flavors, we do tend to find that they customize the price point earlier with the jars. We do find that price point wise, they like the price point better on the smaller, and we usually find that they will buy 2 or 3 of them. There again, us having multiple flavors, multiple infusions, I should say, is they'll end up buying 2 or 3, sometimes 5, according to what they're doing. Where if we had the bigger ones and they were buying bigger, they might only buy that one big one.
Right.
Well, now they're trying different ones, and now they're coming back to replenish, and if they want to order. But we never have a bigger size. So most of ours are the 12 ounce or the half pint, and then we have some 8 ounces, and we do have some specialty jars for our couple different other things that we do.
But also, I'm sorry, I'll be right
Well,
with you.
yeah,
But one of the things also is the repeat business. So if they get the smaller jar and they like that one, take it home, they get in contact with us and they'll come and then we can get them a bigger size.
Mhm.
And that's it, because then at this point, we have a connection, now we have a relationship. That's what you want every time you come to an event or whatever. But also, if we're at an event, we meet you at one event and you say, okay, I want a quart of the strawberry. Okay, so we're gonna be at this event. You come to that event, you go, oh, okay, this is a great event, good music, dance, whatever, you're gonna get your honey. So it's a two. So now we're not only we're part of the event, but you're supporting the event. You're there with yourself, and then you get to size honey. So that's.
And we have a lady that orders once a month, a quart of one of our honeys, and we ship it all the way to Nevada to her.
Yeah.
Because she's been over, she's had it, she's moved and stuff, so, yeah.
How much for 12 ounces?
So our wildflowers are 13, and then our infusions based on which ones they are, but our traditional infusions start at 16. And then they go up.
The next thing is, I'm gonna go through this one kind of fast, hopefully I'm boring you guys, okay?
If we are, just
Yeah,
kick
just-
it off.
You know, do
Because
this.
we can talk all night about this stuff.
Yes.
So.
So,
Nancy knows.
it also-
And Michael knows.
But it also depends on what you guys want to do. If you want to go our route, we absolutely adore doing the events markets outside tents.
As hot as it is.
Yeah, as hot as it is, but then there's sometimes like when we get to August and July, I'm rethink that one. You're like, no, I'm gonna sit, you know, whatever. There's some suffers just going on there, but we absolutely every year, I think we must love it because every year we keep going back for the punishment, I guess. But exactly.
When's he know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, since you mentioned that, you know, we're not doing this year. Durham is heading that one up, but I'm gonna come in with swim trunks and my kayak. We're gonna support that one. And we ain't gonna be there slinging, you know, honey or talking about bees, but we're gonna, because Durham's got it, so we're gonna support those guys. But one of the things is networks. Yes.
Answer the question. When's he know?
Oh.
July 3rd and 4th. You're welcome. Eater River Festival, if you've never been there, you gotta go. It's really awesome. They always have it on 4th of July. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Anyway, but it's always to support the Eno River. It's a nonprofit up there to support the land and everything there, and they do it always around 4th of July. So it's a really awesome festival.
If you guys want to go through the event, farmers market route, there are apps that you can get for free. I don't recommend the ones that want to gouge you, you know, 20, 30, 40 bucks in like the first year. If you want to go that route, there's quite a few of them. If you have a network, your network is the most important thing. Your network to where you can get your supplies at a discount. Your network where you can get certain things. So like say, for instance, if you want to start your own infusions, you get with some farmers, because we have quite a few farmers. We work with them, they work with us. That's part of our network. We have stores, one store that carries our products, and she networks for us. You know, your network is the most important thing. The two key things to keep with your network is you have to utilize that network, and you also have to allow that network to utilize you. Okay, so if you have honey and somebody wants eggs, okay, well, you can reach out to them and be like, okay, well, I want some of those eggs, so we're gonna borrow honeys and vice versa, or whatever it is. Like I said, you want to do an infusion with cinnamon. Find someone locally that does cinnamon, do business with them, somebody that you work with, can work well with, and are comfortable, and you guys have a partnership and agreement. Also, with some of these markets and some of these events, there are potentially issues and problems, just like everything else. Okay, everything in life, there's going to be you're going to run into some cantankerous individuals. When you're in business for yourself, you do have, you know, that was the customer's always right. Yeah, okay, right. You know, you always be polite, be respectful. You know, that's one of the key things, is because some people have bad days, but it can also make a bad selling point for that. You can be at a market for 4 hours, and somebody engages with you for 30 seconds, and the rest of your day be a crappy mood because it'd be raining, you got a flat tire, whatever manner of stuff happens, it will happen. Okay? The other thing is another issue that we had a few years ago And we had a very creative way of dealing with it. It's like, let's say you brand new, you get to a new market, and there's already a person there that sells honey. And they've been doing that market for years. And sometimes it's like, oh, and they have an issue because it's their market, this is their way to make their monies or whatever. And we understand. So one of the things that we do is we approach them. We introduce ourselves and then we say, hey, you know, this, that, third. And they typically are honest with us. You know, I've been doing this market for years. And it's like, ooh. So we're kind of intruding on your space. And they're like, yeah. It's like, no worries. So this is what we're going to do. At this point, we're going to form a cartel. The banks do it. The gas stations is doing it to us right now, literally, right? You notice when they all, so basically what a cartel does is you control the price at that honey, at that event. I mean, I don't mean like control to where it's gouged out of the market, but you guys work out a price to where it's even because that other person who's been there for a while, he knows the demographics, so he knows what those people will pay. Maybe $1 or $2 up, or maybe $1 or $2 down. It doesn't hurt either. But one of the creative things is that you get one of the honeys from his table, and then he gets one of the honeys from your table. And then when people come up, they taste your honey, and then they taste his. They go, and then you send them to his table or his field, and they taste the honey on that. And then you once again, you let the market decide. And we did this for several events. And a lot of folks who were there. And the one guy comes and says, hey, you can come out to any of our events anytime because this particular honey, we sold out, okay? And it says, well, we sold out of this one too. So with that cartel kind of deal, you actually come on top as opposed to you being competitors.
So I know that he was talking to this a little bit, but I just want to reiterate. So Corey had said to us on the phone that everybody here, probably a little bit more than even regular beekeepers clubs, everybody's doing a little bit different with their bees, meaning what you want from your bees. Some of you probably are just 2 or 3 hives with the honey for yourself. That's it, right? You're just having a little fun. You don't want anything else from it, right? You're like, this is enough. This is enough work. I don't want any more. Some of you might want a little bit more from it, right? So you have to think about that. So I know you do news, right? So she's certified to do news. So you have to think, do I want to do news? Is that what I want to do? I want to talk to not Nancy anymore, but do I want to get certified to, do news? Is that what I want out of my business? Do I just want to sell my beeswax wholesale to a candle vendor, right? Do I want to work with, and this is where there again, your area, Solstice Farm here. Does everybody know that? Solstice Farm right here. She uses beeswax. We don't sell to her, I know her, but I don't sell to her yet, but we've heard I talked about it. But I would love for somebody from Chatham County to work with her. There again, I'm trying to get her connected with somebody at the plant for her to do stuff for him. So there again, it's all about connection and stuff. And so, I think the thing is, and where we are really strong at network, I'm really strong from my retail background at networking is really just, what do you want from your hives? What do you want? Are you just wanting to just have honey for yourself and be given as gifts at Christmas time? Do you want a little extra money from your beeswax? Do you want to go to markets to sell? It's kind of like really thinking to yourself, what do you want from it? And then how do you make that happen? Do you just go out and work them and that's it? Or do you need to network a little bit more? Do you need to find markets? I know you guys have a Thursday night market here and a Saturday morning market, right? Yes. So you have 2 farmers markets right off. I know the Thursday night is down at the plant.
Yes.
And then the Saturday morning market is a good friend of ours used to actually run. He used to be the president of it, David from Kathy's Farms. I never can pronounce his last name. But I know that that's over here at the.
Yeah, there's also another one in Barrington on Tuesdays.
Yeah, so there's one in Barrington. I know Holly Springs has one on Saturdays or something. So the key thing is to start looking, and we can help you find those. Because trust me, I'm a part of a lot of groups on Facebook, and there again, I always say, and him and I will always tell you, always have an ROI. If it's not money, if it's a slow market, what else are you gaining from it? Have you talked to other vendors? Have you found other markets? If that's what you want to do, Have you been inspired by, okay, oh, you know what? Some people are still going to markets without carts and they're hauling it piece by piece, which I don't understand. You've been doing this for 3 years and you don't have something to work hard. And like, it's that moment, you have this, light bulb go off in your head and I'm just like, or, you come off with it at different. So we always say your ROI might not be green. It might be something else, from that market, but always walk away gaining something from it, learning something from it, if that's where you're wanting to go, and if you want to just do wholesale, we know tons of businesses that want honey and beeswax that we can't supply for. So we don't have enough to do. So that we can get you, or if you just want to sell wholesale honey and get rid of it, we can always use it. Just that.
And then one of the other things too is if there's a local beekeeper in the area that we know who you are and we're in a specific market, we will always, customers or whatever to come up and say, you need to go find a local beekeeper. I know such and such. Where do you live? I live off of such and such. Oh, matter of fact, she lives right down the street from me. Here's her information, or here's where to go. That network is very important to us, because you guys are also involved in this network. If you have wax or something like that, you guys are familiar with Murphy's Naturals.
It's based out of Raleigh. They do the
it's a bug repellent.
bug repellent stuff.
They use 100% beeswax. Several years ago, I sold them 700 pounds of beeswax. Wow.
There are a lot of beekeepers that have a lot of beeswax together.
And they didn't know what to do with it. And I was like, oh, okay, you give me a good price for it. And he says, well, I'll sell it to you for this. And then it went right from there to Murphy's Naturals. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. We know through our years, we know a lot. So please, if you're thinking about where do you want to go with this, and you just want to ask questions, we do not mind at all. To help you decide which way is right for you with your bees, or if just going out and having 2 or 3 hives is enough.
Any questions so far? Comments, complaints? Concerns?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question about the honey that you extract?
Mhm.
And that I extracted my honey this week. And even in my honey, at the bottom of my bucket, it was almost pure sugar. And that's because there's a lot of glucose in my honey. Some of my frames, it was sugar. I wasn't feeding my bees sugar at all, but the honey turned to sugar.
But that's part of the crystallization process.
Yes.
And it also depends. So there are a couple of honeys that I know crystallized. Rapeweed is one, and cotton. It'll crystallize in the comb. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know what's in your area.
It's probably just wildflowers and clover. And I did a little research in clover will use.
Which one?
Clover and,
Yeah.
what was it?
And there might be other stuff that you guys know here that might crystallize.
Now I'll tell you a funny story. I'll tell you a funny story about a gentleman of mine. He went through the bee school a couple of years ago. And as a matter of fact, I used to work for him over in the Army. He became a beekeeper, and that was kind of surprising to me. But anyway, he called me up one day, he sent me a picture, and he goes, dude, I got this almost glow in the dark honey, man. What's going on with this? Have you ever seen this before? And I'm like, no. And I said, did you taste it? He said, heck no, I don't know what this is. And let me get a hold of some chem lights or something, and I sat around, and then I says, where are your bees at? And he said, they're here in the back. And I says, how close are you to your high school? Because there's a high school in this area. He's like, oh yeah. I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the bees got a hold of the football players and baseball players, Gatorade, taste it and see if it tastes like Gatorade. He said, no. But they didn't think about that. And that was, I've heard stories where bees have gotten into Coca-Cola.
Or M&M, like their M&M factory, or even, even Krispy Kreme, where
They might,
they might have gotten some
Krispy Kreme syrup. They got some coffee with that. Any other questions?
So what do you sell the most of? I mean, what do,
It depends.
people, does it depend on the
Depends on the
event?
market and.
It depends on the market, but what I will say, obviously during allergy season, we're going to, wildflowers are a hot commodity, obviously. But, well, and the funny thing is that one of the farmers markets that I go to every Sunday is called the Rebekah Farmers Market. If you guys are familiar with it, it's in Hope Mills. And it's 10 to 2 every Sunday. I'm there every week, except for unless something pulls me from it. But, so 99% of the time, and it's funny, and I can look at my stuff and I can see, okay, last week, we sold this many of this one, but this week I sold out, and last week I only sold 2 of them. It's very, I mean, even just the change of your customer base, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, we do have ones that are consistently, like we know that we're always gonna sell, like our ginger infused, everybody loves ginger, I love ginger.
Yes.
But yeah.
Rebecca, you said you sort of track, how accurately you track, I sold this many of this size of this flavor.
So it's according to how well you want to track. Now, we don't do like a square system or anything like that. So we take payments through Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, those type of things right now. And we eventually, when we can combine some stuff together, we'll probably eventually have to do the credit card thing. As much as you can stay away from it, try to, because you know, you don't have to pay those fees. Just saying, we're a small business, you know. So with that being said, so when we first started, we were slow enough that I had an Excel spreadsheet. I was one of those because I didn't have, you know, to keep inventory, and I was exact on my stuff. As of 2020, I've kind of let my Excel spreadsheet go because it's too much for me to I have other things. I mean, I track a lot of stuff. I just don't track the individual things anymore. What I can tell you is I know how much we make of each thing, and I can tell you how much we have to keep remaking for each batch. So I can tell you, huh? We both. So anyways, we both do. He has strengths, I have strengths.
So typically with these jars, a 5-gallon bucket will give me 6.5 to 7 cases or whatever. That's
Oh, this size.
and that's including the infusions. We infuse, let's say ginger, I think 5-gallon bucket, I get 7 cases out of that. When we go to markets, we determine how many of those cases. If she goes to market and I go to market, we typically take 1 or 2 cases of each. If it's sold out, we sold 6 of those and 6 of the other, 6 of the 6. So that's.
But I know every time when we're making batches, I know when we're making batches. So I know how much, in the end, the big picture, just not the daily.
You're not keeping track, market, but like.
Right. But I was just like, for me, it's getting to be too, now eventually, once I have squared, you know, I can obviously keep track for me. So, you know,
Yes.
yeah.
2 questions.
Uh-huh.
The first question is, you said you had 50 hives, so you're extracting the honey from the 50 hives, but you're also getting from other sources.
Yes.
There's no way you'd be able to supply.
No.
We work with other folks. So like I reach out to one of the guys and I say, hey, I'm getting kind of low. And he's like, okay, well, let's go ahead. We put the suit on and then we'll go out to the hives and then we'll go in. And it's like, okay, this is it, because I had to put the work in too. So that's the deal. That's what I'm gonna say. It's a hard part, but it's a fun part, but it's still, you know.
And some of those, I mean, some of our hives are like, our 50 hives, like, we just got some, like, we are there, like, we haven't even touched them. Well, we won't touch them this year at least, because they're new nicks and stuff and everything like that. And then we have some, and we don't have them all in one place. We do a host of high program, so we actually have them in different places. So we have them on different farms and different things. So, and what we do with those farms too, is they have first dibs on buying a wholesale back from us, so they can sell it. And we actually work with them. I have labels that are just for them, that has their logo and our logo on it, if they're going to sell the honey that we extract from the hives that are out there farm. So that's something that we do with them.
So that was the first one.
Mhm.
So the second question is, when you're doing your infusion, how many 5-gallon buckets are you doing at one time?
It depends. It depends, because at this point, it was, I would take 1 5-gallon and I would say, okay, two. But because of so many different markets, I just made it simple and says, hey, 5 gallons for this one, 7 cases, they'll last as long as
So your
whatever.
formula is
Correct.
4 5.
Correct.
Now it is.
Now
So when we first started, we were infusing 1 case at a time, jar. And then we started doing half gallon,
Yeah,
and now we're at 5 gallons.
but see, after several dozen 2, 3 o'clock in the morning kind of deals, and then like we'll go to.
We're like rethinking, how can we make
So we go to an event, so I would use 3 cases of ginger, go to an event and sell out all 3 cases, and then we had to go back to the same event, and it's like, okay, I'm roasted right now. And no, you can't be roasted, you need to go ahead and make some ginger. It's like, yeah.
But I mean, but we do more. I mean, there are times which we're pulling back now because our catering side is actually pumping up now. So, which is good. But we're actually, there was one time last year, I mean, we were at 5 markets in 1 weekend.
Oh, my God.
2, not 6. So we do 2 on Friday. No, it's 5.
Yeah,
1 on Friday, 2
yeah,
Saturday,
Friday
and
night.
2 Sunday. And there were a couple of occasions where we had an event in the morning on Sunday, from 10 to 2, and then we had a night market from like.
Now you can tell that I run the
5 to 9.
schedule, and I pulled back now because our markets themselves are bigger. Like so where we don't have to do as many markets to still sustain the same amount of numbers, if that makes any sense at all. But I mean, we don't have anything else. This is what we do. But for some people, you have a full-time job. I mean, like, this is a lot. So you could decide, just 1 market a month might be, which is great. But you know what? It's that 1 market a month that helps pay for your new suit, your smoker and your high that you've got to get for your new for next year. You know what I mean? Like so. So that's where, like I said, you have to kind of decide. But we're here
or
to.
new toys.
Or new toys. Rebekah saw. Like I said, when you guys want to come up and practice shooting with that, you'll go all the time. Anyway, that's his. I'm like, even my dad ordered one. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had fun last time. So if you do get one of these, I suggest eye protection. If Father's Day is coming up, yes, perfect Father's Day. Cookouts won't be the same.
Any other questions? Yes, Mike.
Just for context, you might have mentioned this,
That's fine.
and I apologize. How long have you all been doing this?
Well, beekeeping since 2015. So he started, he got certified, of course, pulled me into it. So now I'm learning. So I know a lot. I don't get to execute as much as I want to because we have to split sometimes to conquer. So he's out of the hives because I'm not going to go out the hives myself because he's obviously broke. But he's
5 years ago, 6 years ago, Peter told me that I was going to be doing this. I wish, man, you must be out of your mind. It's just, we went through certain doors open up and other doors just kept opening up. And then we just
let it organically happen. Like when we say our business is very organic, we don't mean like figuratively like the honey working. We mean like just the way, just talking to people and just all the farmers we got to know to all this, that, I mean, it's just amazing all the people that we've got to meet and be a part and things we get to be a part of now.
through the course of this particular journey, like one of the things I'd say was rewarding is when you actually talk to someone about bees and beekeeping, right, a little kid, because that was our first thing, little kids, 5th and 6th graders. We talking to little kids, and then they go home and they talk to mom and dad, and they go out to one of these events and they see us, and the little kid goes, and then that look in their face, like, okay, because when they do this, I'm like, okay, what I did, right? And the mom and dad come up and they have that look in their face, and it's like, hey, this thing, like, Dad, this is him, this is her, and they was talking about this, that, third, and then we impart that information. And then you see them a few months later, and then they're like, hey, man, we appreciate you, we're fully fledged beekeepers, without you, without us. And that's what makes it worth what it is that we do. Like I said, 5 or 6 years ago, they had told me that was the case, because someone did that to me. We were out at Eno, that's why Eno, that's what's near and dear to us. Someone said, hey, you thought about being a beekeeper? And I was like, no, 6 years later, 7 years later.
And we get beeswax candles and stuff too, but, I know, but I forgot what I was gonna say. No, I wasn't saying, but, oh, I know what I was gonna say, but whatever you do and why you do it, just keep that as your focus. Why we started what we started, and it organically morphed into other stuff. We still do what we originally started doing, which was education outreach. We still do that. We just went and talked to 2 groups at a school that are transitioning of their special needs. They're transitioning from high school to adulthood. And they wanted people to come in and talk about, different things that they can do, whether it's farming, whether it's, to just try to start getting them to think about what they can do with their capabilities and their skill set, as limited, for different ones and stuff. And so we still go out and there's still festivals we do that we don't take honey, or we just take our wildflower. We don't take our full gamut because that's not what it's about. So you just kind of do it.
So this is what
So just stick, like I said, we still do what's true to our hearts. And I think that's why it hopefully shows through with people. That's why people keep coming.
So one of the things that she was talking about is like a true, like we do the wildflowers, like the Shikori. The Shikori event is mostly about the people there, giving them the education outreach, but then it's also about the local folks. So Maya and Moya there. So when we go to that event, their honey is a showcase. Well, you remember that, so
Yeah,
you get to taste the Shikori. So that's the thing. So when we go there, they're the showcase, because we realize that the people, the connection with people is the most important. If you can get someone to get some hives and the different location, that's a win situation for us. That's pretty much it. If you guys have anything else for us, please let us know that you
I don't know if we took too long, sorry. I think it was a little longer than we did.
Oh, yeah, because we can do this. We can do this.
We can do this for another 6 hours. No, I'm just kidding.
One more shot. So, young man, what do you think about the house? Is it still with you? Or did it go away?
It's gone, but it was good.
So who stepped right up? Step right up. Uh-oh.
I didn't get it, she boring.
Hey.
No, because we didn't have it, we probably didn't have it. Hold on, get your tracer ready, honey, for you.
Okay, I got it. Okay, that's yours. Oh, got it.
Okay.
Oh, yes, yes.
All right. So that one is yours. All right. So on your marks, get set, get 3, 2, 1.
Good. It's smoky.
It's very smoky.
It's really good.
That's really
Yeah,
good.
great in a drink.
Yeah.
That would be great. I mean, that could be barbecue sauce by itself.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it tastes like.
Wings, ribs.
Mixed drink.
You drink?
Mixed drink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love spicy mixed drinks.
Oh, like a
Margarita.
margarita. See?
Hold on, give me this. Sorry,
No.
hold that thought, yes. But I thought Robbie had one in his, but it's, hold on.
How many pounds you sell a year?
What's that?
How many pounds do you
I'm
sell
not
a
high.
year?
Ooh.
It's a little bit of that. Wasabi.
No.
No. It's pleasant. It hasn't burned the crap out of my lips, but like if I ate more, it would. Probably, like the numbing.
Yeah.
I want to say
That's really
last year, I want to say I sold 700-800 gallons.
Yeah.
Gallons.
Of the pepper?
No, just honey.
Oh, oh my gosh. That's a lot.
That's a lot of work.
No, she's going outside and, so this is the this is ginger, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the store behind the ginger, you guys familiar with Lori Hawkins?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We were at an event and she was doing the
And
ginger
that
honey.
car, so it's warm,
That-
so I'm trying to-
So that is,
Yeah.
that honey is inspired, she inspired us to do that. Because she doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Bring another job.
That's good.
This is what we do.
Look at them all.
Now, here's the thing, we don't judge, we've had about 15,000-16,000 people licking the back of their hands. Before COVID, we would have a 10 by 10 tent, and it would be tons of people out here, and they're all licking their hands. Somebody was walking by with their food, and they're like, why are they over there licking their hands? It's like, you guys licking your hands, and I'm like, hey, come on over here, and you'll find out.
Anybody else want to try ginger?
Yes. Sorry, we got my car, so that's a little on the warm side.
With the spread out all over the place.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Right.
No.
This is how you sell 7 or 8.
Anyway, any other questions? Or we'll turn it over. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna sneak away now and hide and you guys see what you do.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight, and thank you again for our speakers.
Oh, thank
A
you.
lot. Everybody in July. Oh, wait, there's a chat question. Did I?
Oh, is there?
No idea about that. That's just.